everyone, and welcome to the Political Job Interview, where I interview candidates running for election. I'm Vincenzo Calla, the host, and today I take on the role as the boss, giving a job interview to today's candidate, Ade Olumide. Ade is running for election for Ottawa City Council as a candidate for Mayor of Ottawa. Thank you, Ade, for your time, and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Vincenzo. Thank you for putting this together.
It's great to have you, and without further ado, let's get this job interview started. So as with any good job interview, I'm going to start off with an opportunity to learn more about Ade. So the first question is, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your story?
Well, I'd say one of the most important things to know about me is that I am a father, I am a husband, and I believe that Canada is a great place to live, and I'm passionate about making it a better place to live.
So I want to continue on that point now. Why have you decided to run for this position?
Well, let's just say that, when in life, sometimes you identify a problem that needs solving. And I certainly have come across one, and that would be issues to do with misconduct with the police and the military. And I'll say off the bat that I'm pro-police, but there is about 10% of officers in a lot of forces that contribute to the sometimes negative reputation. And this is it's a national and an international problem. So it affects all levels of government because every city, well, not every city, but a lot of cities have their police forces. The province has its OPP, Canada has RCMP, and the military. There's been a lot in the news about problems also with misconduct. And so to that end, I've actually started a change.org petition. And the goal here is to have a 120 days transparency bill of rights, where every complaint of misconduct is actually publicly available online, anonymized, and we can see the decision of the investigators and how it was handled. A bit like, what we saw with Hockey Canada. The government paused their funding, they made changes, and now they're also saying they're going to have transparency. So I believe that transparency is a powerful tool. The current city council has been asked to implement a transparency bill of rights for Ottawa police, probably about 6 times. They haven't done it. So I thought, well, rather than asking, if I should go in myself and get it done.
Let's take a bit of time now to talk about this job and what you bring to it. So the first question is, what experience do you bring to this job?
Well, I would say that certainly as the former president of the Municipal Taxpayer Advocacy Group, did convince 37 municipalities across Ontario to pass a bill that hydro should be affordable. And there's a whole slew of other activities. I was appointed to the City of Ottawa Community Budget Advisory Team, and also former vice president of Central Park Community Association. There's a whole slew of experience in public advocacy that I would serve me well in sort of putting the city on the right direction of competence and ethics. Because these are the two main shortfalls that I see with the current council.
Well, there's a lot of candidates running for mayor, yourself being one of them. And I wanted to ask you, what sets you apart from all of the other candidates? What sets you apart from all of them?
Well, I would say that the main difference would be, again, as I mentioned, courage. And you link that with competence and ethics. See, I believe that a true leader, when you see a problem, you don't just allow it to fester. You don't throw up your hands and say there's no solution. There's no problem without a solution. So what you have to do as a leader is identify what problems need to be solved, prioritize them, and show leadership. And I think that that's where I'm miles apart from the other candidates. Certainly a lot of my platform ideas, you will not hear from anyone else because a lot of people just want to get elected for the sake of being elected. Very few it's not often that you meet a politician who wants to get elected to solve a problem. I sometimes say to people that being able to solve a problem is actually greater than getting elected. And sometimes people look at me like you have two eyes. And I said, well, you shouldn't get elected just for the sake of the office. You should get elected because there is a problem that needs solving and you're the best one to do it.
Part of serving as an elected official is serving the people who elect you. So here's a few questions about how you want to serve the people. So the first question is, what is something that the people you would like to serve the people of Ottawa need that you would like to get done if you were to become elected as mayor?
Well, I sort of touched on that earlier. There was actually a survey. Number one issue constituents have with the city, adequacy of information. Number two, bylaw enforcement. Number three, transparency. And I have actually come up with a solution for all of those issues. So I think that by having one of the offices I'd like to create is the office of an ombudsman. Right? By and large, majority of city staff are good, but you do run into situations where you have overzealous city employees. And by having an ombudsman that can actually review city decisions, that can resolve a lot of the problems with, bylaw enforcement. And certainly we've talked about transparency. When I talk about transparency, what I mean is all complaints. It doesn't matter whether it's misconduct, it doesn't matter whether it's a service complaint, it doesn't matter whether it's a policy complaint. Right now, what happens is that people make complaints and it's just swept under the table. Well, if we had a public database where we could actually see what complaints were made, what decision were made, then we can actually start to hold people accountable. And it actually, whether it's to do with transit, whether it's to do with affordable housing, basically any policy that you would like the city to have, you should be able to make that request in form of a policy complaint, and we should be able to see the decision that the city staff made. And if it's unreasonable, we should have an ombudsman who's able to comment on that. It's just it's a layer of accountability that right now does not exist. People feel that once they get elected, 4 years, some people, they don't have to listen to their constituents. They can sort of do what they want. And I want to change that culture. I want us to remember that we're public servants first and foremost. So our job is to serve the people and sort of change the processes by which we do that.
So I wanted to also just quickly follow up on that and just something that I'm just putting out here right now. If you were to say yes or no, would you support or use the strong mayor powers that the provincial government is proposing?
I would say no with a caveat, but not enough time to go into the caveat.
Yeah. All right. And finally, the last question now is, what is one accomplishment that you have achieved that demonstrates why you'd be a good elected official if the people choose you?
Well, I sort of alluded to that earlier on when I said that I was able to convince 30, so this is without being elected, by reaching out to 37 city councils across Ontario to pass a motion that hydro should be affordable. In fact, the current mayor, when he was elected, we had a meeting and proposed something called no new money. And he also accepted that, and that's also working in City Hall. So those are the sort of skills that I want to bring to fore. I can tell you, for example, that in New Brunswick, the maximum amount of time to issue a complaint decision is 60 days. In Newfoundland, it's 90 days, but there is no maximum amount of time in Ontario. And so by using the city council power for accountability and transparency to create a deadline that says, look, if you go beyond 120 days, we want you to be public with the reason. And so if you feel a need to redact part of the reasons, well, after the complaint is over, we can actually see whether that reason was false. Because the status quo we have today is that there's some investigations, 4 years and no decision. And I'm just saying that as mayor, these are things that will put to an end.
Thank you, Ade, so much for joining me today. It was great having you, and I'm sure the viewers have enjoyed hearing what you have to offer to them. Election day is October 24th, 2022, and if you liked hearing what Ade Olumide had to say and live in Ottawa, You have the opportunity to vote for him on election day. Check with the local election officials for more details. To stay updated, make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at BCProtections25. Check out my website, VincenzoCalla.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, and choose to get notifications here on YouTube. The political job interview is VCalla production. So until the next video, I'm Vincenzo Calla signing out.